Welcome back to the islands here on UK Theme Parks, our brand new Planet Coaster theme park experience. Now then, we are over in our World's Fair area and we're going to continue to build in this area. This massive gap in front of us here is what we are going to look at, and we're going to look to build a brand new roller coaster in here. It's going to be a swinging roller coaster. It's going to be one that kind of rocks from side to side, a bit like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train at Disneyland in Florida. And yeah, we want to kind of make it a little bit immersive on the theming, but a little bit open as well at the same time. So most of the track over the other side will be quite open, and there'll be a nice little finale to the ride. Now, they're not very easy to build. They do swing kind of from side to side a bit erratically, like the swinging suspended ones do, vampire style ones do. So it'll be quite interesting to see how well this one comes out today. And of course, much like the rest of the roller coasters, we don't want to make really big ones. We kind of want to make medium-sized coasters, have a little bit of theme into them. I think at one point we are going to make a kind of sky rocket coaster, but generally we want to keep them low level. So with these, to get the rock in, you do need some left and rights. You do need to kind of really kind of put yourself out there a bit and then tinker it a bit as it goes. Much like the vampire style swinging rides, it's really difficult to get them to swing correctly with kind of the way the track goes and the speed of it as well, without making it seem too violent or without making it seem too unrealistic. These are really tricky rides to actually do. So we are going to spend our time and really spend our time getting it right as we go around, testing it as we go. And of course, we want to make sure we've got block brakes along the way to ensure we can run multiple trains. And you know, once the park's open, we don't plan to limit the amount of people in the park, even though the game might bottleneck slightly, but we want to make sure that everyone can get on these as quickly as possible and run it like a good thing, because ultimately that is the goal. So yeah, a lot of testing. These aren't going to be massive rides. You know, this is quite a small space. We did consider having like a boomerang style ride here rather than this one. We then kind of looked at a spinning coaster, but thought that we will probably have a spinning coaster in the park, but we'd have something a little bit more unique this time round. Now, as you can see, as we finished off the ride here, it's not massive. We're not having a huge ride. You know, some of the smaller theme parks around the country have some wonderful little filler rides like this, particularly when they've got some larger rides as well. And I would imagine we're going to have 3 or 4, you know, huge rides with the RMC right next to it. That is kind of the focus of the World Fair area. Then we will have some amazing little filler rides like this along the way. And of course, we can then theme these a little bit better than perhaps we can at the larger roller coasters. So design-wise here, this is what we're looking at. I think we're going to be looking at 2 or 3 trains on this without a doubt. And you know, we have got this like trick track towards the end, which you can see as well on this final straight. And as you'll see as we go on, we are going to theme that as well, keeping it in theme with the RMC and the rest of the World's Fair area, particularly, you know, the sort of more Egyptian style we've got over the other side. So you can expect the Cobras to make their way over here. You can expect some of the pyramid shapes to make their way over here as well. And it's running really smoothly there on 3 trains. Now, of course, when you're testing these roller coasters, those that don't know for Planet Coaster, when you're testing the roller coasters, you should really test them if you're testing block brakes in kind of ×1 in your normal speed, because when you actually speed them up, it's not actually realistic the way they go around the track, and you can then find that you know, where block brakes would then kick in, they won't actually kick in operation. So if you're ever testing these to get the block brakes right, make sure you test them in ×1 all the way through, because it just doesn't work right, particularly the same as well when you're adding effects to the ride. That said, much like the other ones we have here, the other rides we have here, we are going to have a nice enclosed station here, very similar to some of the work we've already done around this area at the monorail station and indeed the eatery kind of as you enter the World's Fair area. And that's kind of the plan for this. This is how we want to re-roll in this. This will also have the fast tracks. We'll have a separate entrance most likely for the fast track. And yeah, you know, we really want to add the detail in on this. Now, the ride itself is not going to be the most thrilling of rides. When we get complete or get closer to the end, we will obviously show you some of the all of the stats. I say some of the stats. We will show you all of the stats on here. But it's really important that we have a little bit of variety. And you know, we want to build the building around this as we have now. We appreciate that we're going to have to move some of the building blocks. You might see the fact that some of the building blocks there would have hit the train. They won't do when we get get to the finished article. And then we want to add, as we have the wood effects which you've seen us put in there, to really add the entrances and exits looking really good. Detail around the side is really important, and again, detail inside is not as important, but it's important enough that we need to kind of segregate the entrances and exits, and to make sure that bits along the bottom here aren't seen from when you're on the ride, for when we do POVs for it. As we've always said, the inside of the rides, unless we're building a dark ride, is never a priority of ours. It takes so long to do, uses so many resources, and it is often not seen unless we're put in the park kind of for people to download online. But I think even then, to be honest with you, people need to be able to kind of add their own detail to these parks rather than just download them. But, we've never downloaded a park offline. We've downloaded loads of workshop ones, but never a park that we kind of want to alter and things. We get a lot of inspiration from ones we see online. And that's kind of what we do when we take it, when we go along here. Now, lighting wise as well, there you can see that we've put in and removed some lights, and we've got to make sure the cameras are in as well. We always forget those as we go along, so we're going to add a few more cameras in as we go. All these wonderful little details do add up here before we complete off this flat roof. Now, we could have had a bigger roof, but I do really want to have a flat roof along here, nothing too big, and I don't really want to cover the ride up. And you'll kind of see in a minute when we start building on the final break, the final run area. So where we've done the trick track in particular is where the focus theming is going to be. And you're going to see we're going to build a snake which goes along there. It's going to have some, mist smoke effects, and it's going to be a real nice finale to the ride. And even though the ride's not massive by any means, it should really add kind of a little bit extra to it, which is exactly, what we're aiming for in this theme park. A little bit different, lovely little bit of scenery, without going sort of too OTT and without draining too many resources. Now, as you can see here, the head is going to start as part of the entrance area. So, when you're kind of entering the ride, this is going to be the first thing you see. You're going to see the head of this as it then snakes right the way around the queue line. And there'll be two sort of cobras there. And you can see these are really difficult to put together. They just don't snap very well at all. They really don't, but they make great scenery items. So this particular one here, as we add some, we've added some trees in, we'll add some other bits in as well to make it look like it's kind of snaking through the trees. Adds a wonderful archway as you go around before you can see the tail. A wonderful, wonderful archway. And then of course the rocks around the outside, which we put in, make it look like it's slithering across the rocks. And then we're going to add another one of these as well on the final run, and that'll be the one that kind of looks down on the passengers as it comes down. With our entrance complete there, we can have, we called it test at the moment, so we can test the sign, make sure it's the right way around, but we will have a name for this, which of course we want you guys to come up with some names for some of these rides. Please, please, please get involved, come up with some of these names for these rides. So again, the terrain tool we're going to use to our advantage here. The terrain tool works really, really well, and we will add some rocks in underneath to give the realistic effect. However, we do want to use the terrain tools to kind of really enclose this final area. And as you can see along the way there, we're going to have these branches coming out with some of the snake and some of the theming on. But of course, we do want to build a snake that goes the whole length of this. So when you're in the queue, because the queue's right next to it, you'll be able to see it in the queue line. As you walk along, you'll be able to see the finale, you'll be able to see the trains come along. And when you're on the train, you'll be able to follow the snake along to the snake head, which will just be past the queue entrance. Then of course, keeping the ride running in the background, we can see exactly how close we can get to this and how close we can make the experience for the riders on there, particularly with the trick track and the swinging from side to side. Although it looks like the track's going one side, actually it's going to be going the other way because you're going to be swinging in the opposite direction. And whilst it does look quite uncomfortable, I can tell you I have ridden it, and it's not too bad at all. It's really not too bad at all. And I just think it gives so much variety. A ride like this gives so much variety, and this is why I love the vampire style rides as well, because they give so much variety in what you can do with them if you can get them right and make them look comfortable. So of course, the rest of this is probably going to be themed sort of much less than what we're doing here. But this particular final break run, particularly where you're walking in for the queue line. You know, we want to really kind of immerse you in the theming, and then when you get on the ride, there's going to be a few rocks and a bit of grass and a bit of water to go around before you hit this wonderful trick track at the end. So the people in the queue line can follow the snake up to some point, and then we're going to come out and have the head of the snake, which they will struggle to see from the queue, so it won't spoil it too much once you're actually on the attraction. And that will then burst some smoke out for you as well, so you can see it all. This will all be enclosed nicely. We're going to put some rock work right underneath here to make it look like, again, that the snake is going right across it. And although it looks at a rather unnatural position, once we've kind of built it all up and everything, and we've put our effects in, it should look all right. And as you can see there, it's a prime view of it sort of looking down. We get the trees in so people can't see, and we get the rock work in underneath to really, really build it up and you know, bring it sort of in line. I mean, it's just going to look amazing the way it's sort of slithering along to the finale of this attraction. So this ride actually has turned out to be a really simple ride. I mean, nothing too sort of strenuous. It's a very simple layout, but quite effective. It's a nice little filler roller coaster. They're not all going to be massive. We've got to have some filler roller coasters and look realistically. You know, we can get this final bit themed really quite nicely. You know, people's eyes will be drawn to the snake as you go down. What do you think? What do you think? This episode has all been about this mine train coaster which has gone through here, and some of the theming we're doing around it. What do you think of this lovely little ride? We will get to ride it at some point as well. We will of course be taking you on board of these. It's a bit sad we haven't got any of these in the UK actually. You know, there's not many around. You know, I missed out on the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, sadly. I didn't actually quite get on it, to be honest with you. The queue was massive and it just opened when I went to Disney, so I didn't actually get on it. And it's always fascinating me, it sort of rocks side to side. And you know, as you can see there as it goes through there, and it gives a nice burst of red smoke. How immersive this would actually be. And you know, we'll connect the snakes on as well, so the snakes will come right out in your face as you go. So yeah, you're going to come out, you're going to go up the lift hill, you'll see a little bit of this below. You know, you might even clock that track and think, no way am I going over that track. Well, yeah, you are going to be going over it. And then of course the rest of it, we're going to put the rock work around the entrances. We've got a nice little underground tunnel as well. Let's not forget that, it's always quite nice. And we'll put some water down the back. So yeah, a nice little ride. Really, really happy with the way the ride's turned out, to be honest with you. Simple, effective, not taken too long to put together. We've got a reasonable bit of theming in there, and it kind of fits our World's Fair area quite nicely. Yeah, really, really happy with it. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of this wonderful new attraction we put together here? And indeed, how it all flows and fits into the area. Because this is actually the last ride. This is the last ride we're going to be putting in the World's Fair area. We've got 2 coasters, we've got 2 flat rides. We still need to do a little bit of tinkering with some of the scenery around, but in the next episode we are going to be moving on to the new area, which is on the right hand side of the entrance, and it's going to be a haunted area, and we are going to create an IP attraction, an IP haunted attraction. Let's see if you can guess it. Comment below, can you guess what IP we're doing? I'll be really, really impressed if you can. I'm not promising it's going to turn out very well, but we're going to give it our best go. Thank you for joining us here on UK Theme Parks for this episode of Planet Coaster. I really hope you're enjoying the island adventure which we're doing now. We're trying to catch up with ourselves a little bit. We've been rather busy recently, but we are trying to catch up with ourselves a little bit. And of course, we want to make this a widely available theme park once we're complete. So we want your input. We need names, or we want potential rides as well for other areas, and indeed other areas details. But thank you very much for joining us here on UK Theme Parks on episode 3 of The Islands.